Good morning, everybody. It's a Monday. Grab your coffee. How's it going, everybody? I hope you've got brown liquid drugs in your cup. Starting your day off right. Coffee's your thing. Welcome back. Welcome back to another week of Career Therapy Live with this Jamoke. Weekdays at 8 a.m. Central. I'm excited for today's topic. We're going to be talking about living little to win big. I think it's an interesting topic, especially as so many folks in the world are reassessing their living situation, reassessing the choice to live in a big city, the decision to have a small apartment in LA versus a large home in Texas or something like that. And just taking a look at how your living choices and how your choices in general can impact your job search and the things that you do in your career. Good morning, Stephanie. It's been a bit. How have you been? I'm glad to see you this morning. So I'm going to start us off with a really quick daily Stoic reading, and then we'll get into it. One thing that I'm curious about as we kick off this week, and feel free to put it in the comments while I'm reading our intro here, is, what's your goal for this week or your intention for this week? What is it that you really want to accomplish and get done? Personally, I have some goals about, I have a lot of goals this week, but I have a few goals around branding and strategy that I'm going to be working on this week. So I've got some things that I've mapped out that I will be updating on our website and in our approach to building career therapy. And I'm curious what things you've got going on. There's always new things to focus on, new things to do. And when it comes to our career, there really is no end to work. And that's, again, to our topic today. How do you live your life? Because that's going to dictate everything, right? And we'll jump into the reading here. So this is the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. This reading is called The Opulent Stoic. The founder of the universe, who assigned to us the laws of life, provided that we should live well, but not in luxury. Everything needed for our well-being is right before us, whereas what luxury requires is gathered by many miseries and anxieties. Let us use this gift of nature and count it among the greatest things. Seneca, Moral Letters. Just going to take a couple notes as we're reading this today. All right. So as you're thinking about your life and your career goals, do you ever find yourself limiting what you think you can do in your career based on the way you live your life? Like, I could never go for that job. I'd have to take too much of a pay cut, or I could never start that hobby because it would be too financially draining or time consuming. Are there any things that you've wanted to do in your career that you've not done because of the sort of of your life? It's a really interesting question and something that I'd love to dig into more. All right, going on to the next part of the reading here. Even in his own time, Seneca was criticized for preaching Stoic virtues while also accumulating one of the largest fortunes in Rome. Seneca was so rich that some historians speculate that the major loans that he made to the inhabitants of what is now Britain caused what became a horrifically brutal uprising there. His critics' derisive nickname for him was the opulent Stoic. Seneca's response to this criticism is pretty simple. He might have wealth, but he didn't need it. He wasn't dependent on it or addicted to it, nor, despite his large bank account, was he considered to be anything close to Rome's most lavish spenders and pleasure hunters. Whether his rationalization was true or not, or whether he was a tad hypocritical, which everyone is, there is a decent prescription for his is a decent prescription for navigating today's materialistic and wealth-driven society. This is the pragmatic instead of the moralistic approach to wealth. We can still live well without becoming slaves to luxury, and we don't need to make decisions that force us to continue to work and work and work and drift further from the study and contemplation in order to get more money to pay for the things that we don't need. There is no rule that says financial success must mean that you live beyond your means. Remember, humans can be happy with very little. Now, there's a lot in here that I think is important to keep in mind. I mean, clearly, the last line here, humans can be happy with very little. We can still live well without becoming slaves to luxury. Being stoic doesn't mean not having anything, right? And he had wealth, but he didn't need it. Now, this is one of those readings where, it also brings up a little bit of a pushback, right? Someone will say, I can't even pay my bills. I just need a job. I need a job to pay my bills because I'm struggling financially. And I think that's totally fair, right? I think it's important to get the basics before we start thinking about the luxuries. I think one of the things we forget sometimes, though, is just how much we spend on things we don't need. And I call myself out on this as well. The same way we spend so much time on things that we don't need to spend time on. I'll talk to people all the time and I'll say, start networking. And they'll say, I don't have time to network. And I go, okay, what are you spending your time on? And once we break it down, you find out you're spending 3 hours on Instagram a day, 2 hours on YouTube a day. And all of that time can be redirected, reused, repurposed into something that is productive and actually improves your career, makes you money. Rather than consuming other people's content like this live stream, go make your own live stream. And actually, June is here, and she's going to be starting her own live stream. So bravo, June. She'll be on tomorrow morning to talk about that. Same thing with money, right? I say, go buy someone coffee and say thank you for meeting up and talking to me about your career. And people will say, I don't have $2 to $4 to spend on a cup of coffee meeting with someone. Really? Don't have $2 to $4 to spend on a cup of coffee to meet someone. Okay, but if we were to actually look at your bank account, how much do you spend on alcohol every month for yourself? How much do you spend on going out to eat, which is my luxury thing. I love to go out to eat and get pizzas and things like that. How much money are you spending on your Netflix account and HBO account and Peacock account, which I think might be free, and all these other things, right? How much are you spending on? I just dropped a crap load on groceries yesterday because I'd already put it all in the cart and was too lazy to go put it back. Like, where are we overspending? And I think a good example of this, because we've talked about the working out analogy to the job search. Good morning, Jeanette. Love it. Recently, I bought the domain for career therapy, and it was very expensive, and I did all sorts of stuff, and it's made me have to take a second look at all my spending because businesses get expensive. And I was taking a look at everything, and I realized that I had a gym membership that had started charging me again now that the pandemic allows you to go to the gym. And I noticed that I'd been paying for about 3 months of the gym already. So it's $80 a month for this gym. Now, when I originally bought this gym membership, I wanted to use their pool, their hot tub, their sauna, their yoga classes, and their weights. So I found a way to justify it in my head that it's winter, I'm not going for walks anymore, I'm going to get all this stuff and I'm going to get into shape. And I would say it was a decent investment. Decent, not great, but decent investment, because I did use the hot tub and I did use the yoga and I did use the gym and the weights. I even used the sauna, although I found that to be a little nasty. I don't know. It was kind of not as clean as I was hoping. And then the pandemic hit and they paused the membership, right? And I got out of the habit of going to the gym. And I got out of the habit of working out. And then suddenly they started charging my card again. So I was like, shoot, I got to start getting back to the gym. But you've got to wear a mask now. There's a whole bunch of people there. You've got to wipe down everything every time you use it. It just wasn't a very inviting workout environment. But the yoga classes seemed okay. But they were only offering one a week instead of however many they had before. So I found myself just going to yoga once a week for $80 a month. Analyze your spending. Analyze where you're putting your dollars, because those dollars could be spent getting a virtual coffee with someone and sending them a Starbucks gift card, getting on their good side, building your network, right? Investing in a personal website, investing in, some hobbies that you might want to leverage in your career. Buy that program that's going to help you journal, whatever the thing might be that is a good use of money. So I canceled that gym membership. I realized that I was spending almost $80 a yoga class, or what would it be? It would be like $20 to $30 a yoga class. And I'm like, that's just not worth it. I could do yoga on a YouTube video in my apartment, and that's what I've had to do. I've had to change things up, use what I have at home. And then the next thing that I did was go, well, what do I want to use that money for instead? Do I want to save it? Do I want to invest it in my business? Is there something else in my life that I've been putting off that I would actually like to invest that money into? And one of the things that struck me was, well, I'm trying to sort of learn Spanish. It's kind of a slow burn of learning Spanish. And so I downloaded the Duolingo app and it has ads on it and all this different stuff. And I thought, you know what? This is actually something. My partner speaks Spanish. I'd like to speak Spanish. I'm going to just, get this Duolingo app and really commit to this new goal. So I'm still hitting my workout goals. I'm just doing it at home for free. And now I have a new goal that I get to add on to my list of things that I'm learning. I'm investing in myself. I'm investing in the future that I want. I want a future where I'm in shape, but not spending money to go to a yoga class once a week, and where I'm improving my knowledge set and my ability to communicate with my partner. And so these are the things that we can start assessing and say, wait a second, am I spending $10 a month on Netflix, which isn't actually bringing value into my life, which is debatable. I do like Netflix. Granted, I'm using someone else's password, but can I spend that Netflix dollar on something more productive, on something that builds a better future for me? And then back to the reading here, don't get tied to the luxuries. I had a hard time stepping away from that gym because I was tied to the luxury of it. I remember a buddy of mine was like, why don't you just get a Planet Fitness membership for like $10 a month? And I was like, but my gym has a pool and a hot tub. And then my gym doesn't have a hot tub anymore because COVID. So I had to get over myself and say, wait a second. I'm wasting time. I'm wasting money. I'm actually preventing myself from getting better at things because I'm only going to the gym once a week and all this stuff. And I watched this great video of a bodybuilder, and when I decided to quit the gym, here was my next thought. I should take that money and buy stuff for my apartment. I should buy kettlebells, and I should buy, like a Bowflex or something, or Peloton, right? Those are so expensive. And I watched this video of this massive bodybuilder guy, and he's like, if your home gym doesn't fit into your closet, like folds up into your closet, you're spending more than actually going to a real gym, because you're spending, like, if you have a Bowflex in your house in a room and there's a whole room dedicated to working out, it typically is like $200 to $400 more per month to just have an extra room in your house. And he's like, unless you're a millionaire, you should really just not have that room and live in a smaller house and go to the gym. And so I was watching this video and I was like, that's a really fair point. Why am I going to just like try and upgrade my home environment? No, just like do something simple. Maybe a kettlebell would be a good thing, but there is actually a workout room in my building that's not great. It's a little closet, but I can deal with the closet. That's more of a mental thing, not a reality thing. So if we can change our mentality and stop being so fancy, we could do so much more in life. Because I don't need to be fancy with the gym anymore, I can learn a language. Because we don't need to be fancy with how we live, we might be able to quit that job with the toxic boss. Because we don't mind, maybe, if you're younger, moving back home with your parents because your job is not what you want to be doing, you could actually open up a lot of possibilities and maybe even start a business. That's what I did when I was younger. At, the ripe age of 26 or something like that, I moved back home with my parents to start a business. And I can tell you, it has a pretty significant impact on your dating life and your social scene, but it was totally worth it because it got me to where I want to be at the age of 32. So these are the things that I think are really important. It's fine to want to make money. It's fine to want to live well, but we shouldn't be tied to any of these things. And as a matter of fact, being tied to that beautiful house, being tied to that expensive car, being tied to those things can force you to do work that you don't want to do. One of the best things about living lean is that you can say no to things you don't want to do. One of the best things about living little is that you don't need to commit to stuff that doesn't fit with your values, doesn't fit with the way you want to live your life. When I was working in advertising, it was not a lifestyle that I liked. And if I continued living that lifestyle, it would have been a circle. I buy a bunch of things, like a really great apartment, like everyone that I worked with. And I spend a lot on dinners and I spend a lot on going out. And I get really into wine and fancy things. And then I have to work crazy hours in advertising in order to pay for all that stuff. And then it just becomes a loop of me buying more expensive things, then having to work more hours, and buying more expensive things and having to work more hours, and then basically driving myself into the ground. Now, I still work a shit ton, but I'm working on things that I enjoy, and I can say no to things that I don't want to do because I've brought my living situation down as far as I literally possibly can. And, my partner and I both work from home. It's a pandemic. We're living in a city because we love Chicago. We love the access to everything. But we've been talking the past few months. Why do we live in Chicago if nothing's open? I can't go to comedy clubs. We can't go to art shows. We can't do any of these things. Well, maybe it would make sense to move further outside the city. We've never been suburb people. But what would be the happy medium where we have office space for her art and office space for me, but we don't increase our expenses so much that we can't be nimble entrepreneurs building our business? And I think that this is as important for an entrepreneur or freelancer as it is for a full-time worker. If every time you get a raise, you improve your living situation, you're never going to save enough retirement. You're never going to be able to leave that job if it goes bad or gets boring or plateaus or gets toxic. You always want to put yourself in the position of being able to walk away at any moment because it's not right. And I'm not perfectly in that situation. I'm definitely in a much better situation than I've been in the past. But I know that I'm willing at any point in my life to take a step backwards in my opulence, which I still think this is fairly opulent. I'm in a really nice apartment overlooking the lake, but it's cheap as hell, especially with two people. And it's small, but it works. And I would be fine living here for 5 more years if it meant having the business that I want to have versus having to get a job that I wouldn't want to do. Couldn't be said any better. I believe I caught Gary Vee talk about this too. It's like, why make all this money and still spend more than what you make? An expensive BMW costs you $1,000 a month. 100%. And I got to say, like, there's cars that I want. I would love a Tesla. I would love a, I don't know why I really like Jeep Wranglers. But when I actually looked up how much a Jeep Wrangler costs, it's like $35,000. And I looked at what you get, and I'm like, you get less than like a Toyota Camry, like in terms of features and like technology. So it's literally just paying for the look. Well, I don't really like to pay for looks. I wear the same 10 shirts over and over and over again. And I literally have the same jeans. Like, I bought 4 pairs of them, and I just rip open a new one when the old one wears out. I really enjoy the idea of living minimalistic so that you have freedom of time, freedom of choice. I would say freedom of time is probably what I struggle with most, because I did choose the entrepreneurship lifestyle, and that's kind of a tough one when it comes to having time. I worked all weekend, literally the whole weekend. But at least I'm working on things that I enjoy versus when I was in advertising and I had to work on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day to launch a website for a company that I could care less about. And I don't even think that website's up anymore. Why did I ruin my Christmas in 2016 or whatever? I don't know. At least now, if I'm working late, it's because someone's stressed out and I can help calm them down. And thankfully, you know, in my past, I've had opportunities where I enjoyed moving a lot. So when I moved to Texas, I basically threw out my entire life minus a handful of things. And now I'm kind of in a place where I'm steady and stable. So I can already see the accumulation of things starting to happen. And this is the longest I've ever stayed in an apartment. I tend to be a very nomadic person. So I can already see, like, here we go. We're starting the accumulation. Don't get too tired. Be throwing things away. Be okay letting things go. It's, I think, a really important thing to practice throughout your life. And it's very stoic, very minimalistic. I think the thing that taught me this best, I told this story on the live stream before, maybe like 6 months ago, was I was on a road trip once, and I had everything that I owned on this road trip, and I got robbed. And it got my laptop, my backup hard drives, basically everything, all my clothing. And there's no better teacher than something like that to show you how little these things actually matter. I didn't need all those things that I lost on my hard drive. I just had to go make more things. I didn't need that clothes, which honestly, I was like starting to get into like wearing bracelets and stuff. I was like, why am I wearing bracelets? I don't understand what I'm doing here. And I was like getting really tied to like the clothes I wore. But then I found out that doesn't really matter. And now I can get dressed in the dark and look the same every day. It's not everyone's style, but it's me. And so these are the things where it's like I simplified every area of my life, and I put all of the investment into this business because this is what I want to see grow. I don't want to see my addiction to technology grow, because I could easily, even a month and a half ago, I almost just bought a whole new setup for my computers. I almost bought an iMac for $3,000+ and an iPad for $2,000. I was going to just go all in, be to the wall, right? And I thankfully found a way to stop myself. I'm not sure how, maybe meditation or journaling. I was able to stop myself and say, do you need all these things? Or is this laptop that has been working still working? And I think maybe it's because silicon is coming out in like a year, so I'm going to wait for that. But if I had put all that money into the technology, I might not have been able to buy the .com or pay my contractors or whatever else, the business needs. I might have put myself into a more strapped position where I would have to take a contract or take a gig that I don't want to do. And these are the things that we don't want to bind ourselves to. We don't want to bind ourselves so that we have to do what other people want us to do. We want to open up our lives so that we can do the work we want to do. And living little allows you to be flexible. It's just one of many strategies that you can apply to your career to actually live and do the work that you want to do. Now, I did get my hair cut this weekend at a fancy hair cuttery place. Not the hair cuttery, but at a fancy place called the Public Barber. And I would say that that's still pretty freaking lavish. I watched a video last week by Mr. Money Mustache, who's a blogger who talks about being able to retire by 30. I'm 32, so I missed the boat. But he talks about the whole video on getting your own hair. I was too scared to do it. And so maybe someday I'll cut my own hair and let go of my coiffed crap up here. But as of right now, I'm still going to spend way too much money on haircuts. And so, you can start looking at every aspect of your life and say, how does getting my hair cut this way every month limit my career options? How does buying food this way every month limit my ability to do what I want to do or get away from that toxic boss? I love that people are like, I hate my job, but I guess I'm stuck. Are you? Or are you building your own prison every single day? Oh, and with that, we shall start wrapping up today's reflection. I'm super excited to have June on tomorrow. So June, big shout out to you. She's going to be talking about her journey into live streaming. She just got approved on LinkedIn Live. So big shout out to you. I'm excited to have you on tomorrow morning, bright and early. So I hope you all tune in to learn a little bit about live streaming, building a coaching practice, all the different things that go into it, promoting yourself online. June's pretty great at that. And we've also got some great podcasts coming your way. If you haven't checked out last week's podcast or June's podcast, she was on 2 weeks ago, head over to our YouTube channel to check that out. Or if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I'm wishing you the best of luck in your job search. Live little, win big. And if you are opulent, which we all are, let's just be real, don't be addicted to the opulence. Try to practice the ability to walk away if needed. If the circumstances call for it, all this stuff can go. What are the essentials? And that's what we'll focus on. All right, everyone. I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. If you need help with coaching, head over to careertherapy.com. We can always help out with different aspects of your career. And I wish you all the very best on this wonderful Monday morning. Cheers. One last comment here. We got Juan say, there's a documentary on minimalism. Yeah, it's a good documentary. I think if it's the one that you're linking to, I met those guys in Chicago. So definitely go check that out. All right, everyone. Have a good one. I'll catch you tomorrow.